Imam, Musa ibn Ja'far, for the honor of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim, recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه ونعمائه ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه وحبيبه حافظ سره ومبلغ رسالاته حبيب إلهنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا العبد المؤيد والرسول المصدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا صل على محمد وعلى قال الله الحكيم في القرآن الكريم وإذا قيل لهم لا تفسدوا في الأرض قالوا إنما نحن مصلحون ألا إنهم هم المفسدون ولكن لا يشعرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Holy Quran has a very important statement, and that is that everything that I create, I will guide them toward the path of perfection. And that includes the human beings and even the nature. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made sure that our creation was not with the purpose of leaving us alone by our own and leaving us in the path of destruction. We have that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam, angels objected that why you created such a creature who will cause bloodshed and destruction. And if you created him for worship, we are already worshiping you. We're enough for you. وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء. And these verses, by the way, for many mufassirin and for many of the scholars, is a turning point that any topic in regarding of ethical points or even when it comes to existential question that why we're here. These questions are very fundamental to answer those questions. So, and they said that Allah said, I created Khalifa, an agent, a successor of mine, and he will be my representative. And angels said, قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها. Do you want to create a creature who causes fasad and corruption? ويسفك الدماء, and cause bloodshed. وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. And we are already worshiping you, glorifying you. قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون. Allah said, I know which you don't know. And then Allah showed him a glimpse of that reason. قال يا آدم أنبئهم بأسمائهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Adam alayhi salam to show a glimpse of his potential. Allah said to tell them the names. What is the meaning of asma? There is mufassirin debate that it was a form of knowledge that angels didn't have awareness of that, they didn't have capacity to handle. So when angels heard the names, they listened to the part of the wisdom that they never themselves were able to understand and comprehend. They look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said that indeed you are the all-wise and you are the Hakim and you know what you create. But that concept of قال يا آدم أنبئهم بأسمائهم, to say something to angels to show who you are, that's basically the broad spectrum of humans' potential, but not only in a positive way, in both direction, good or bad. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا refers to this concept that human beings have a potential to be the wicked of the wicked or to be the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Could become a creation that servants of human being will be angels, or could become a creature that even considered lower than animal. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. It's a very broad spectrum. The decision goes back to human beings, the decision that how they're going to use the free will that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. But the point is that when it comes to religion specifically as an ideology, a lot of human beings, they say these are good things to say, but in action that's very hard or almost impossible to achieve. When we talk about, struggling and do our best to strive for khair and for good, they said yes, it seems good. When you listen to it, it sounds very good, you enjoy it, but in real life, the application of that will not be possible. And that becomes a justification for some human beings to give up on their faith, or becomes a very typical answer, unfortunately, many people in America, which recently, Economist is a very famous magazine who did this interview that more than 70% in America, when they're asking them about their religious belief, they identified themselves as not religious. We're not atheists, but we're not that religious. And when you ask them why you identify yourself, there are people, specifically from the Muslim community, that they will say, yes, we love Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, we love Ahlul Bayt, but there are people different from who we are. They were best of the best, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them that special tawfiq and opportunity. And for us, it's not fair to expect the same. So, to answer this misconception, which unfortunately it is a misconception, because when we look at history of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam's life, we see individuals, regular human beings, who achieve highest status of morality, ethic, and piety and spirituality. When you look at characters such as Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Although she's not one of the 14 infallibles and ma'asumeen, but the status that she achieved. And we can't debate that in the day of Ashura, prior to the day of Ashura and after, there were other people, part of the Imam Musa's family, such as Kulthum salamullah alayha. But we don't see as much as presentation and as much as report regarding her life as much as Hazrat Zainab. And that's the reason, because Hazrat Zainab was a very important and had a very vivid impact on the aftermath of Ashura and the result of the sacrifice of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam. That's not to undermine the sacrifice of the rest of the family of Abu Abdullah, but to just make sure we understand the greatness and the amount of sacrifice and the amount of bravery that Hazrat Zainab manifested on the day of Ashura and after that. And the unfortunate part is, when you take a look at the life of Hazrat Zainab, there's not much written history about her, especially when you look at to her life prior to Ashura. We don't have much, and unfortunately the written history is very weak in regarding many important characters of our history. That's the reason we have multiple reports about the Shahada of Hazrat Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. We have, if you look at them, the famous one, there are 2 famous ones, up to 3 famous reports, but there are up to 10 reports about which day is the actual day of the Shahada of Fatima Zahra. And the reason of that is that because, as I said, there was no actually written history available at the time, and this part of the history is not as clear as it has to be. When you look at someone like Imam Rida alayhi salam, that he was a wali ahd of Ma'mun, it means that even in the kingdom or the dynasty system, he had an important role as well. Even for his shahada and martyrdom, we have 2 different reports. One is the month of Safar, one is in Dhul Qa'dah. And that goes back to a lot of trickery and a lot of deceive that was made by the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt to cover up their crimes. And for Hazrat Zainab is the same concept. Even about where she's buried, there are different reports. We have that Hazrat Zainab, after she returned to Medina, the report said that Hazrat Zainab did not live more than a year after Ashura. So she lived 1 year. And we have that when she returned to Medina, she wasn't able to, one report says, to stay in Medina and see the absent place of her brothers, more than 7 brothers that she lost and the family members. So we have that she left Medina for Egypt and she passed away in Egypt, and that's which today we have as Zainabiyya in Egypt. Another report said that she passed away in Medina and she was buried in Medina. And the third report is that she returned to Sham. And the reason that they said she returned to Sham was because of her health issue. Her husband asked her to move to Syria, but she did not go back to the Damascus or the Damascus of the time, the Sham of the time. She went to the suburbs and the Zainabiyya that we have. There are multiple reports that none of them is a reason to forget the concept and the message of Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha. The unfortunate part is that some people, they stick to the historical facts, that's where she's buried, that they forget that the reason we are so much focused on her life is because of the amount of achievement that she made during her lifetime, not after her departure. So tonight I would like to talk about a concept which is related to our time, is relevant to our time, and also is a message that we can drive very focal points, very substantial lessons from the life of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far and Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayhim. Recite the salawat. And that lesson is for somebody to become taghut, to be the symbol of tyranny, for someone to become an enemy of God, for somebody to transgress against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's very, very easy to lose the direction. It's important to know that the people who stood against Ahlul Bayt, they were not evil people by birth. Human beings have capability. As I said, we have a broad spectrum of potentials, good and bad, that we can become best of the best, change the matter of our destiny in a matter of day, or destroy it in a matter of a day. When Imam said, don't be proud of your good deeds, don't be honored, and don't be self-conscious and at the same time narcissistic toward your good deeds. That you say, you know, I pray, I went to Hajj, I did charity, I did all these good deeds, so I have to go to heaven. I'm the best of the best. Everybody else has to listen to me. I don't need to listen to anyone else. Because sometimes doing good deeds cause ujb. In Arabic, ujb refers to self-appreciation in a very extreme level. Narcissism. That is very common, is a disease of the good people, is a spiritual disease of the obedient. And Imam Sajjad alayhi salam in Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, Imam alayhi salam is praying, Ya Allah, abidni lak, make me your servant, make me worship you. وَلَا تُفْسِدْ عِبَادَتِي بِالْعُجْبِ. Ya Allah, but at the same time you make me your servant and obedient, protect my worship from the disease and the corruption of ujb, narcissism. That I don't become arrogant because of the list of the good deeds that I do. We have somebody came to our 6th Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And somebody was passing by. And this person started whispering to the person, his friend, something negative about the pedestrian who was walking. That he did something bad, or he's not a good person, or something like that. And Imam alayhi salam heard them. And Imam said, what you said is very dangerous, because you don't know if he repented or not. You don't know that maybe he will be forgiven and be one of the people of heaven, and you be one of the people of the punishment of Allah and hell. Said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, what do you mean that we should not feel good about ourselves? We follow you, we follow the school of Ahlul Bayt, we're a minority that you're your supporters, and this person openly opposed you and the message of Ahlul Bayt. How we can just say, you know, we're still lower than them, or we're not good. It's fine to say we're better than them. And Imam Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told them the story of Quran. Imam said, if you read the story of Musa and the magicians, the sorcerers, what happened was at the beginning of the day, Pharaoh asked the sorcerers comes and to be his partner against Musa. And they accepted. So if you pay us, if you give us something in return, we will defeat Musa. That was the beginning of the day. They came, the miracle of Musa alayhi salam made them see the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's true power. And they say, Amantu bi Rabbi Musa wa Harun. Amanna bi Rabbi Musa wa Harun. We believe in the Lord of Musa and his brother Harun. And Pharaoh said, if you don't give up on what you say, if you don't refuse the message of Musa, the acceptance of the message of Musa, I will cut off your hand and your feet. وَلَأُصَلِّبَنَّكُمْ فِي جُذُوعِ النَّخْلِ. I will crucify you. I will make an example out of you that you embarrass me before the public. Because the point of that gathering was the sorcerers defeat Musa, and God forbid the humility is for Musa, and the Pharaoh will be victorious, and it backfired. Because when Musa a.s. showed, they said, we believe in Musa. What he does is a miracle and is not a magic or trick. And he got upset and said, I will punish you. And they said, do whatever you want. We saw the truth and haq, we will not give up on the truth. Imam said, look at that story. Enemies of God in a matter of one day, less than a day, became believers and martyrs. That's the potential of somebody's future and destiny that you're unaware of. Maybe this person tomorrow, few days later, a year from now, becomes someone that you never can even become. So don't be honored and don't be arrogant about that you're following us. Make sure always be conscious about your action and what you do. So make sure that the evil people are not evil by birth. That's a concept that Islam makes sure that we differentiate Islam from other religion. That the sins of our fathers and grandfathers has nothing to do with us. Everybody, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, was born فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَّرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا, with a clean slate, with potential of attraction toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and love toward good. But as they grow up, they start making their own destiny. The enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, some of them, they knew that Ahlul Bayt were right. They knew, such as Ma'mun. They confessed that people like Imam Rida alayhi salam is a true Imam, is infallible, but because of their thirst and their constant greed for power, they were ready to sacrifice any belief they had. So we have those people. Even Abu Jahl, we have reports that he came to Prophet, looked at the Rasulullah's face and said, I believe that what you say is truth, but I can't accept to listen to an orphan, a young man, which is an orphan, and tell me what should I worship and give up on the path of my ancestors. But even they believe in the concept. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them as ta'assub. Those who have a form of prejudice, that they can't accept the truth. But there's another category of people who don't believe, but they pretend to believe. Allah called them munafiqeen, hypocrites. And they're also obvious when they're standing. يقولون وإذا جاءك المنافقون نشهد إنك لرسول الله والله يعلم إنك لرسوله. They come to you and say, you're a messenger of God. والله يعلم إنك لرسوله والله يشهد إن المنافقين لكاذبون. But Allah knows that they're lying. In their heart, they don't believe in it. So we have muta'assibin, the one with prejudice. We have munafiqeen, the hypocrites. And we have a third type, which unfortunately is very common. And that is jahilin. That Quran refers to it as jahiliyyat al-ula, the first era of ignorance, which refers to the time of Rasulullah. But when you say ula, the first one, of course, it means there will be second and there will be the future, the coming era of ignorance. Which after the Rasulullah, when they put aside Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, that's the beginning of the second jahiliyyah. When you put aside a qualified candidate, the one who's worthy, the one who has all the criteria for the leadership, and you choose someone going back to your old cultural values of age and whatever you consider important, that's going backward. That's jahiliyyat thani. But this ignorance, Quran refers to a complex ignorance, a level of ignorance that people are not aware of that. They're clueless that they are ignorant, and that's the worst type of ignorance. Allah in Quran said, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. When some of these ignorance are being said, stop causing corruption on earth. What you do is wrong. What you do is cause more problems than solutions and fixing the issues. They will respond, the ignorant will respond, قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. They say, we are reformers, we're fixing it, we're righteous people. And Allah said, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ. Surely they are the corruptors. They are troublemakers. وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. But they don't even know that. وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. A form of complex that people don't know what they do is wrong. And that's the issue I want to talk about. It's relevant to our time. And it also is a lesson to learn from the life of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, including the two characters and two personalities that we're honoring tonight, Imam Kadhim and Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayhima. So it's important to get the word. The word is jahl, means ignorance, in Quran is being used. And the opposite of that, we have aql, wisdom. And then we have jahl murakkab, the complex, the one we call the complex ignorance. The ignorance that is not easily detectable. And we have tradition who talks about this concept. When you look at the history of Imam Musa alayhi salam, I want you to think about this. That the enemies of Imam Musa alayhi salam, they fought against Imam Hussein, they also sacrificed their lives as well. It wasn't that they said, you know, we want to just choose opposing Imam Musa alayhi salam and we're going to sit down at our houses and don't even leave it. No, they came all the way to Karbala to oppose Imam Musa alayhi salam, to fight against him. And some of them, they even believed in it. There were people who didn't believe in it. They were there for the money, for other reason. But there were some ignorants who were thinking what they do is for the sake of God. The same ignorance we see today when, God forbid, you know, we had many cases, a suicide bomber attacking a mosque, somebody attacking Zawar of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, or attacking a market. They think what they do is pursuing God's satisfaction. And we have, when we see division within communities, that somebody who's causing that division, they're thinking that what they do is they're serving the community. When they're splitting up marriages, destroying marriages and families, some of them believe what they do is helping people. This delusion unfortunately exists. It's very hard to detect, but we have to be aware of it. Because Quran warned us about that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhal insan, innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan famulaqih. You have to be aware that all the time, kadh in Arabic means a struggle. Work hard. There are going to be obstacles, challenges, the moment of deceit, the moment of tricks, and you have to be vigilant and you have to be smart. Al-mu'minu kayyis. Imam alayhi salam said, mu'min is a smart. And we have this tradition that a mu'min will not be harmed from the same place twice. If a mu'min was get hurt from one person for whatever reason, they will not get hurt twice from the same reason, from the same source, from the same place. So al-mu'minu kayyis. And this concept of being smart and vigilant, it doesn't mean about just financially smart, but also in a spiritual level, we have to be smart to make sure that in the time that we live after Rasulullah, that's what Imam Ali alayhi salam said. Said when Rasulullah started his mission, the kufr was apparent kufr. I was fighting the obvious idols. But when I started my leadership, my imamah, I was fighting the hidden idols. I was fighting people who were not showing who they are. And they were wearing that famous saying of the sheep's cover, the sheep's skin, to trick people, to deceive people. That was the hard part of my leadership of the Ummah of Rasulullah. And that will be the same thing in our time. And in Akhir al-Zaman, at the time of the occultation of the Imam of our time, people who wants to heard the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, heard the message of the Imam, they will not come and oppose us in a topic of disbelief. They cover it with the skin of the religion. They even claim what they say is a word of God. They will even promote what they preach as the actual preaching of Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhi wassalam. And that's what happened and will happen. The era of ignorance. How to recognize this, that the Jahilin will sacrifice everything they have. A power of Jahil sometimes is higher, is much stronger than a power of a wise person. You heard this statement that when wise people are thinking and they are analyzing should they do this or not, ignorant people, they already finished that job multiple times. Right? Because we think, okay, should I do this or not? It's not that ignorant people are lazy. It's not that they don't invest. They invest in the wrong cause. You want to know about it? Just look at the lobbying that happens today. What are the causes of lobbying today? Who are lobbying for the policies to be passed? You will see that there are much more investment in the wrong causes than the good causes. When you look at the Battle of Badr, Rasulullah, how many people in the Battle of Badr were companions of Rasulullah? 313. How many were the enemies of Rasulullah? More than 1,000. Was 1 to 3 almost. And compare that these 313, they had not much of weaponry, camels, horses, nothing. A lot of them even empty-handed. And the enemies, they were invested so much in their jahl that they were equipped up to their teeth and they were ready to destroy Islam once for all. They were done there, they were defeated, they gave up, the Jahilin gave up in the Battle of Badr? No. They came back again. In the Battle of Uhud they came back. In the Battle of Ahzab they came back. All these battles are their constant struggle to destroy what they consider to be a threat for their ancestors' path. And they spend money on it. And they invested their own lives on it. They put their lives in stake for that. So we have to be aware of it. Not everything that you give your life for worth it. Not everything that your money you give for it is worth it. That the giving is important, but at the same time, what cause we're giving for is also important. And that's a big difference between Imam Hussain's side and Umar ibn Sa'd's side. That the enemies and the Jahilin who oppose Sayyid al-Shuhada salam, Imam tried to warn them multiple times to give them that sense of awakening, but they didn't pay attention. When Imam Zain al-Abidin came to Sham, you heard the lecture, you heard the sermon of Imam Zain al-Abidin, that most of the lecture is about introducing himself, that who Imam Zain al-Abidin is. And when you see why is that, why Imam focused so much on that, and instead of talking about the tragedy of Karbala, Imam is introducing, Ana ibn Makkah wa Mina. I'm the son of Mecca, I'm son of Mina, I'm the son of the Prophet, this is who I am. And they said because the amount of propaganda happened in the Syria at the time by Muawiyah and Bani Umayyah was so strong that many people in Sham, they never heard about Imam Zain al-Abidin or about Abdullah Hussein. They were introduced as people who left Islam and they're following a different direction. A matter of jahl could be very prevalent in our lives. How we can detect it? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam give us the solution. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, لِلْجَهْلِ ثَلَاثُ عَلَامَاتٍ. For the ignorance, for the complex ignorance, there are 3 signs. If you pay attention enough for self-detection, this is not for other people, this is for self. Because the moment we are pointing finger at other people before double checking, if anything is wrong with my own character, that is one of the first signs of ignorance, that I feel safe, that I'm good. There is no need for checkup, for my spiritual checkup. So this is for self-detection. Imam Sallallahu said the first sign for jahl, Imam Sallallahu said, tabadulul ikhwan. The first sign of ignorance is those people who often change their friendship. Ikhwan means brotherhood, ukhuwa. Tabadul al-ikhwan means those people who often change friendship. They change sides. And in other words, they don't have mind of their own. They don't have principles. They don't have values. What they seek is blindly following. When people are changing friendship, it doesn't mean they have values. They don't have principles. And all they do is they want somebody, and that's the reason from one right they join another right. Ash'ath ibn Qais is one of those people. Ash'ath ibn Qais is a man who, at the time of the Prophet, at the beginning of his prophethood, he was one of the enemies. In the Fath Mecca, the big victory of Mecca, great victory of Mecca, of course, he had no choice, he became Muslim. After Islam, when Saqifa happened, he joined the Saqifa side, left Imam Ali alayhi salam. When Imam Ali alayhi salam became the Khalifa, he joined Imam Ali alayhi salam's side. In the Battle of Siffin, when the treaty happened, he joined Muawiyah's side. It's all over the place, switching the side, like you see a flag changing the direction with the flow of the wind. There's some people like that. They come to religious gathering, they become the most religious person of the circle. Because that's what it requires, the attitude. God forbid, to the majlis of lahu and la'ib and the sin, they are the leaders of the majlis. And in another majlis, they're the leaders. And they have a good name for it. You say, this person is a very social person. Is extrovert. They're active, which is fine to be social, active. Muslim never preach a concept of monkery or isolation or going aside from public. That's not what we're preaching. The concept is that you should have values and principles that you can't sacrifice them. Talking to people is fine. But to go from one direction, 180-degree different direction, and exactly opposite of what you believe, it doesn't make sense. That's not the life of a mu'min. That's why in our deen, we have tawalla, to love what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, to love those that love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and tabarra as well, to stay away from those people who declare their enmity with God and the people who love God. We can't have both. So tabadul al-ikhwan is the first sign of ignorance. Those who change side often. Sometimes we figure out that the direction I'm going is wrong, I change, that makes sense. But tabadul al-ikhwan is an often change. It's not based on awareness, it's not based on you gaining some wisdom and then you change your direction for better. It's just a switching side. That's the first sign of ignorance. People who get a lot of divorce, that's one of the signs of it. Those people who cannot maintain a healthy relationship come from ignorance. There is definite ignorance within that. Second one, Imam Sallallahu said, the second sign of jahiliyyah and the ignorance, Imam Sallallahu said, التجسس بما لا يعني. To investigate, to search, to question matters that they have no benefit and no relation to you. Bima la ya'ni means matters that they are not related to you. That's a sign of ignorance. Ignorant people, they're curious about matters that they are least important. Quran directly said, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. Don't investigate, don't spy on people's lives. That includes also Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. That's another form of investigation, that we just check what they're doing. And I've seen people, they even show it to other people. I was in a mosque and somebody brought a phone, and sometimes people put you in front of an action that has already been done. They ask permission, but they already did the action itself. So, Shaikh, see this. No, they should say, oh, see this person posted this photo or picture, so I don't want to see it, what you showed me. So, but it's public. He posted public. He wanted everyone to see. I said, but I don't want to see. Imagine if it was my job every day to check out that what people are posting on their lives. And I say sometimes if we do that, we will not find one person, if we investigate people's lives, because of the amount of pessimism that exists, and also unfortunately the sin is very prevalent, there will not be one person that you can pray behind him. Hardly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I am Sattar al-Uyub. I am the one concealing flaws. Who you are to expose it? Who am I to expose it? Tajassus bima la ya'ni. That's a sign of ignorance. We have a limited time. What we read, what we watch, what we listen, it should be based on understanding that I don't have time for everything. If something is bima la ya'ni, there is no benefit, there is no point. Even in entertainment, there's some entertainment that has no point at all. No benefit at all. Card playing cards. There are fatwas on that. That any tool, any mean for gambling, even without the intention, without gambling, is haram to play with them. So cards, because they're means of gambling, or a slot machine or anything like that, even if you don't want to gamble, playing with the mean of the gamble and qumar is haram. It isn't Sayyid Sistani's fatwa, and you can see many maraji have it. And there are people who come to me and argue and say, no, Shaykh, we don't gamble. Bunch of friends were sitting, we want to kill sometime. And they say kill sometime. We have nothing else to do. So let's play some card. And I said, this is the fatwa. I said, but we're not gambling. And I said, I know, but it's a mean for gambling. So, but what about soccer? You can gamble with playing soccer as well. And I said, I know you can gamble. That gambling is haram itself. But the tool of gambling, even without the intention of gambling, is haram. And then they don't get it. And I said, eventually, concept, bima la ya'ni, what point you get, one benefit you earn from this? There are hours of people being wasted with playing those. Hours. If they would exercise, they would benefit, If they would read a book, they would do something, some form of benefit. Even minimal comes to them. If you become an expert in a game of card playing and you're not planning to gamble ever, what's the point of it? But if you're a master of it and you're never intention, there is a temptation. I know how to do it. At-tajassus bima la ya'ni is a sign of ignorance. But at the same time, there are matters that you have to investigate. Bima la ya'ni means there are matters that are not related to you, but there are subjects that we have to investigate. I respect all the other ulama's opinion on this, but I personally say if somebody come for marriage, they approach your family, they come for proposal, don't do it with istikhara. Don't make a decision with istikhara. I've received many calls, people coming, Shaykh, I want to do istikhara. Should I go with, ahead with this marriage? So did you talk to the family? Did you research who this person is, where they came from, what kind of family they're from? Do you know who they are? I said, no, we first do the istikhara first. And I said, there's tradition that istikhara means seeking good and khair from Allah. And that should be the last resort for human being after you exhausting all the other channels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the means. The eyes, the ears, the wisdom, the aql, the tafakkur. You use them to figure out the situation. And after you figure out, you rely, you trust them, and then you do it. But if it's a matter that none of them works, you think about it, you research, you consult, but after all that, still there is confusion. There's tahayyur, in Arabic they say. Then you do istikhara for relief from that status, to give you a solution in a matter that you can't make a decision. But if I'm 80%, 90% sure this is good, the rest is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tawakkul. And they say, we don't do investigate. I said, you should investigate. If somebody comes for marriage, please be pessimist. Don't be optimist. At the beginning of marriage, don't be optimist. Why? Because it's a matter of your future. Not in a negative. Be a realist, I should say. Don't be a pessimist. Be a realist. A realist. That when this person comes, okay, who they are. Maybe the family is good, but we should know about them. Talk to them. Ask around about them. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly permissible. As long as we don't defame anyone, it's perfectly permissible. Somebody come for partnership, investigate before partnership. Make sure they're the right partner for you in business or any other decision you want to make. Investigation is not permissible when it has nothing to do with us. There's a person that has no impact on our lives, and I want to know the most detailed answers about their lives. I've noticed even in the position of a Shaikh or a speaker, that happens, that sometimes in Q&As, questions become so personal. And it becomes a system of a kind of a celebrity position. I've seen it in other speakers' Q&A as well. Oh, what kind of perfume you use? Oh, what do you watch? And I said, okay, if it's a question, if you like the perfume, sure, I will say it. But in a matter of Q&A platform that people are hopefully asking for something that is related to the subject of his topic, doesn't make no sense. That we don't have fanship in Islam. That you're a fan of someone. I wear what they wear, I eat what they eat. It goes back to the need and it goes back to expectation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has from every one of us individually. So that's the second sign of ignorance. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And the last one, Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, what is the third sign of ignorance and complex ignorance is وَالْمُنَابَذَةِ بِغَيْرِ بَيَانٍ. The third sign of jahl is to oppose, to disagree without a valid reason. Munabadha is opposing. بِغَيْرِ بَيَانٍ, bayan means reason, logic, excuse. One of the symptoms of jahl is to oppose without a reason. That's one of the signs of jahl. But this matter also, I can give you a very good example of the life of Allama Tabatabai. That in one of his classes, somebody asked him a question. And he right away answered, I don't know. 3 times he said, I don't know, and class finished. The student approached him and said, Allama, the title Allama, refers by other scholars to a scholar who have a high status of knowledge and is an expert in his field. Allama is mubaligh of ilm, exaggeration in the status of his knowledge. So you're an Allama, and why you repeated 3 times, I don't know? And he said for a couple of reasons. First of all, I want my student to learn that even if others give you the title of Allama, there are topics that you don't know. There are questions that you don't know the answer, and you should not be embarrassed, and you should not be arrogant to confess that. Secondly, is I don't want to prolong, to disagree with a matter that I don't know, and I make up an answer, I give something that without no reason extend the topic that I have no knowledge of. That's the reason he get the title of Allama. But some people are honored that, is not a question that you can ask me and I have no answer for it. Except the Imam Ali alayhi salam who said, Saluni qabla an tafghiduni, ask me before you lose me, which is connected to the divine knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any other human beings cannot claim that. Regardless of what field. Religion, science, medicine, regardless. No one can say, I know everything. Al-munabadhatu bighayri bayan is a sign of ignorance, that people disagreeing a lot. They are the opposite, and they have good names for that as well. There are people who disagree with everything you say, and you say, why you disagree? It makes sense. We're voting for a good thing. Everybody, I give you an example. There was a charity collecting money for orphans. One person opposed. One person out of how many guests? I'm out of 18 people. One person opposed. Say, why? I say, we don't know if this money goes to the right place or not. I said, we just explained 30 minutes that how we collect the money, who's going to be the transfer responsible for that, which charities goes to, what is how we can verify that. I said, I know all this, but what if? And all of the what ifs were just make up what if. And I look at him and said, brother, are you trying to stop the cause of khair? If it's a valid question, ask. If it's not, just let's inshallah finish this. And then he had this, he said, I want to play the devil's advocate. And I said that this is not the right place for that. Because in a matter of khair, I understand we have to make sure the source is correct. We have to make sure that the resources are not going to be wasted. I know that. We have to give it to reliable people. But after all those are being verified, the rest is wasting time. And that happens with some of the jahilin. In marriage, that is very often happened by the ignorant side. Could be sometime by the husband, sometime by the wife. A husband came to me kind of complaining. I said, Shaykh, we moved it here a few years ago. I don't know what's going on, but it's akhir al-zaman, is end of time. It's, there's a lot of bad influences on our families. And I said, I understand, but what's the issue? So, since we moved here, my wife became a different person. And I said, okay, inshallah is khair. I did not hear the other side, so I can't say anything. How can I help? And then he said, what was the issue? He said, my wife is telling me this. It was a criticism of something that he was doing. Say, this place does this to people. Change their iman. And after he finished, I said, brother, honestly, I did not even hear the other side. But based on what I heard, your wife is right. What you just said is your fault. And she has a right to complain about it. Said, oh, Shaykh, America changed you as well. And I said, okay, he came here for my help or to tell you what I know that could be fair and just, or you want me to just agree with you blindly? It's very hard that you tell someone about the flaw and they said, I was waiting for this. Somebody come to me and said, this is a mistake that you're doing. This is a flaw you have. That's not very often. It's very, as I said, unrealistic to expect that. As always, there is a defense. There's always a defense. Why you speak too loud? Other people speak louder than me. You see the whataboutism? There's other people. And the jahil oppose without reason. The solution to them are very simple. The solution of these three. Changing friend often. Investigating peoples without any reason. All these could be solved with the teaching of Ahlul Bayt. So the first solution is muraqibah. Al-muraqibah. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim alayhi salam said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, that ليس منا من لم يحاسب أعماله يوما وليلة, is not from us, from a follower of Ahlul Bayt, is not from us, Imam Kadhim said. The one who doesn't hold himself accountable every day and night. Doesn't do muhasabah, accounting and muraqabah of his a'mal. Muraqabah is that constant, as I said, you don't feel safe that, I'm good. There's no reason for me to make sure that what I do is right. It's verifying what I do on a daily basis is right. We have to make a list. And we have tradition that don't write good deeds, write only bad deeds. To see that why we need repentance, why we need tawbah. Because when you write good deeds, we think, we do a lot of good deeds, no need for tawbah. But just keep a list of, God forbid, any mistake, any sin that you are aware of. And keep a list of that. And after a week, take a look at it. How many times you use your tongue in a way that was against Allah's satisfaction? How many times you were not fair and unjust towards someone? How many times, God forbid, your nafs and ego had priority over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your family or someone else? Keep a list. And you see how much in need of Allah's blessing we are. Muraqabah. Rasulullah said, Al-aqil, we have that regarding the difference between wise and ignorant. Imam alayhi salam said, Al-aqil muhsinun khaif. A wise is a man who's muhsin, does good, is righteous, she's righteous, but khaif, is vigilant, constantly checking, if I'm right or not. They're not arrogant. They're not full of pride. وَالْجَاهِلْ مُسِيءٌ آمِنٌ. But ignorance, they're sinners and they feel safe. They commit the worst of sin that they could commit in their level, but they, Allah is Kareem, Allah is forgiving, and they use that as excuse to continue on their path of disobedience. So muraqabah is the first solution. Practical. I give you a hint. Get a piece of paper, right? A small notebook, and don't write your sins in full. Abbreviate them, acronyms, because you don't want somebody else to see it. That is also your dignity. You has to preserve as well. But keep a list of that. You know what it is. It's one way of muraqabah. And then after you get the result, the data, try to implement a path, a way, a solution that I'm going to reduce this number. That's the first one. The second solution from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is to make sure that we rely on our actions, not our dreams. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, Al-aqil ya'tamid ala amalih, wal-jahil ya'tamid ala amalih. One with ayn, one with hamza. The difference between wise and ignorance is the wise relies on his action and actually doing it. Ignorant is the one who relies on the wishes, dreams. Dreams are good as long as they are projection of what we are going to achieve and the purpose. But there are people that always keep dreaming. We're dreaming of having a better, inshallah, masjid. We're dreaming of having a cleaner masjid. We're dreaming of having a better family. Always dreaming. And I said this in parenting workshops, that our children, they don't become what we want them to become. They become what we are. Simple. You want them to be the best of the best in their education and taqwa. The want and the wish is there. But what they will achieve is they look up to us. They see us. So mu'min relies on action. If we do that, that will be the way to escape jahl and laziness and being static. And the last solution, again, is from the tradition of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, is to accept criticism from Imam Ali alayhi salam. He said, Al-jahil la yantafi' bin nasiha. Imam said, Jahil will not accept any advice, regardless of who is the one giving it, they don't accept. But Aqil accept the advice and the criticism, even if it comes from a child. If it's haqq and the truth, you have to take it. The threshold of accepting criticism amongst some of us, including myself, I have to say, we have to raise it. Because if we don't pay attention to our flaws, we will stay at the state that we are. And God forbid, if it's in jahl, we stay in jahl. And the solution is to pay attention. And Imam Musa bin Ja'far alayhi salam said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Said, for everything there is a sign. And for the aql, for the wisdom, the sign of aql is at-tafakkur. Is thinking, reflection, pondering. وَعَلَامَةُ التَّفَكُّرِ الصُّمْتِ. The sign of thinking and reflection is proper silence. Sumt. If you're someone who can listen, you all the time are the one interrupting people. That's one of the signs of jahl. We have tradition by Imam alayhi salam regarding avoiding interrupting people at any cost. If they're talking, listen. Let them finish. And that is important as well for us, because when we are listening advice, that's one form of practicing sumt and silence. Because if we are listening, it means that we're not talking, we're practicing silence. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, give us that tawfiq to be able to relieve ourselves from the state of jahl, and inshallah enter the state of wisdom and enlighten ourselves with the light of the message of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the message of His book and the message of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, inshallah, and give us the tawfiq to first detect jahl and inshallah implement the solutions that come from the light of Ahlul Bayt in our lives, inshallah. Let's say inshallah salam to Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha. And we dedicate the thawab and the reward of this majlis to the soul of all marhumin. the marhumin who are sponsored these majalis, and also for Hazrat Zainab and Imam Kadhim alayhim as-salam, inshallah. Assalamu alayki ya al-Masa'ib, ya Zainab al-Kubra, ya bint Fatimah al-Zahra, يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله، اشفعي لنا عند الله يا وجيهة عند الله، اشفعي لنا. In the evening of the day of Ashura, when Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha came to the place of Shahada, we call Qatligah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the enemies of Abu Abdullah heard these words being said by Hazrat Zainab. She said, Allahumma taqabbal minna hadha al-qurban. Ya Allah, accept this sacrifice from Hazrat Zainab and from the family of Hussein. It's important to know that if Hazrat Zainab, after the shahada of her brothers and family, is still asking Allah to accept it, make sure if we do the salat, if we do charity, if we do anything, always ask Allah to accept it from us. Just the delivery of the action is not sufficient. But the greatest musibah of story of Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha, we heard so many musibah. But we have one of the musibah was recited when one of the greatest maraji of our Shia history is Mirza Shirazi. And at his time, again, other Maraji and other Mujtahideen, everybody referred all their followers to follow him, that he is the A'lam. And we have that a Dhakir was reciting Musibah of Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha. And he recited one piece of poetry. And when he finished that one piece, Mirza Shirazi told him, stop. What he just recited is enough if we cry for the entire majlis. There is no need for the majlis of the musibah of Sayyid al-Shahid to be long. If somebody is familiar with the musibah, the tragedy, and what an impact that tragedy had on the humans, it will be sufficient one word. And what was that piece of poetry that Dhakir said? He said, Ya Allah, what we can say about the musibah family of Hussein, that when they brought Zainab to the majlis of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, the hijab of the children of Hussein alayhi salam was removed from their bodies and heads, and they were forced to sit down on the ground. This is the greatest musibah of humiliation of the family of Abu Abdullah. When Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam was keep crying after the Ashura for years, somebody came and said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, you are the family of the Prophet. You, your father, your grandfather, you're not unfamiliar with martyrdom and shahada. Why you cry so much? And beyond the prophets of God, they're not strange with shahada. And as Imam alayhi salam was answering, the tears came and covered his beard. He said, yes, the family of Anbiya are not unfamiliar with shahada. But it was the first time that the family of Rasulullah experienced isara, being captivated and enslaved and enchained and showcased around the cities of Kufa and Sham. That was the first time, and that's a musibah that I can never forget. When Zainab returned to Medina, we have that Abdullah ibn Ja'far, her husband, came to welcome Hazrat Zainab, and she was asking, did you see Zainab? Do you know where's Zainab? And as she was looking among the women and the children, she didn't see Zainab. And then Abdullah ibn Ja'far heard a voice from his back that said, Abdullah, you passed by me, you didn't recognize Zainab. You shouldn't recognize Zainab, because when Zainab left, the face of Zainab, the nose of Zainab wasn't broken. When Zainab left, the hairs of Zainab didn't turn to gray and white. When we left, Abdullah, my brothers were around me. 7 brothers, 7 mahram were surrounding Zainab. Abdullah, what can I say? And Hazrat Zainab didn't mention any musibah. Didn't say anything about the beheadings and what happened to Ali Asghar, Ali Akbar. The greatest musibah in the mind of Zainab that she said to Abdullah ibn Ja'far, her husband, was this: Abdullah, where have you been that they took us to the majlis of sharab before Yazid, when the children of Hussein alayhi salam, all the strangers, all of the non-mahram were watching the children and the wife of Hussein alayhi salam. وَعَلَى لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ اللهم إنا نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم، بكتابك المستحكم وبنبيك المكرم وبأهل بيت المعصومين، سيما مولاتنا زينب الكبرى ومولانا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. استجب دعواتنا يا الله 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 يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. May Allah inshallah hasten in the return of the Imam of our time, Imam صاحب العصر والزمان inshallah. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور، اللهم أغني كل فقير، اللهم أشبع كل جائع، اللهم اكسو كل عريان، اللهم اقض دين كل مدين، اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك، اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. For the soul of all marhumin, especially marhumin of those who provided this majlis, and they make sure that this majalis continue to inshallah be a stand, continue to exist and continue inshallah to stand in the name of Ahlul Bayt. Recite Surah Fatiha with the salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
अजीज़ो फातिहा पढ़ने चलो ज़ैनब की